What is up, everybody, and welcome to the fourth ELO discussion video of the rank climb. For today, I'm going to be talking about the ELO that I just managed to climb out of, Platinum. So, while I was climbing Platinum, I actually started thinking back to like a concept that I learned a while ago, and I feel like it's something that maybe not a lot of people pay like a lot of attention to, but it's very important because some people probably don't even realize it, that they're actually a typical stereotype that always is around, and it's like, wow, okay, maybe I am that person then. So it's worth to kind of show some awareness to it. So anyways, there's two kinds of people that play solo queue or ranked, and it's the climbing kind, and then there's the improving kind. So what is the climbing player? The climbing player is a player who probably has a good idea about the game already, and is like just playing games constantly, grinding them out, and trying their absolute best every time they play a game. They will pick their comfort pick or the highest meta pick possible for whatever role they end up in, and they're always going for like the best possible thing, right? And now, like, the question is always going to be, what is the best possible thing? Like, that really depends on what patch you're playing in League of Legends, and how good you really are with certain things in the game. So like for everybody it's different. Like maybe some people are going to be good at Alistar, some people are going to be bad at Alistar but good with like something else. So like there's always everyone is unique basically, and everyone has their own way of winning games. Usually it's very universal though, what is good and what is not, so it's not that hard to discover what is meta in League of Legends. Anyways, kind of going off topic there, but still, a climbing player just basically has a very good idea what they're doing in ranked, and they basically are just trying to move upwards. An improving player is a player that doesn't necessarily have to be bad at the game. They just don't realize, or maybe they do realize, that there are things that they need to get better with, and it's just they are constantly losing and winning games, and maybe sometimes just losing games constantly and just never actually going upwards. They're not climbing, so they are an improving player. Some people would call these players bad, but the reason why it's called improving is because not all of these players who are inconsistent are actually bad players. An improving player might be a player who doesn't really understand some very basic things that they should know when it can be anything though. It can be like laning phase, it can come down to like warding, it can come down to just like, I don't know, keeping track of flashes. Like all these little small things are important things, and like there's several more of course, and if you don't keep track of these things, you will probably not win as many games because you won't have as much advantage as you possibly can have in each one of your games. And by not having advantages, how are you going to be winning, right? You're probably not going to be winning. So also, of course, playing on champions that you're not very comfortable with yet is also another reason to be losing. But now you're going to be thinking, right, sometimes maybe I don't really feel like playing my best pick. Maybe I want to play something that I never play, but like I feel like maybe it's good for the situation. Okay, that is acceptable. Sometimes you have to really break out of the box to be able to win certain games, because your standard pick is just not always going to work. And this kind of clashes with the champion select discussion I had for the gold video, but it's not quite the same thing, because when you're playing to improve, you're intentionally going into a game and not being fully knowledgeable about exactly what you're going to be doing, and therefore you are still you are in learning mode basically. You're not in climbing mode, so you pretty much go into the game and just assume that it's a practice game, and that is kind of what some people do in ranked. You have to understand that in higher elo, people don't always play their stuff in normals. They will actually play on a different account and play ranked on their smurfs, and usually these smurfs are actually around the high platinum or low diamond or whatever. I know that most pro players have like a smurf account on like diamond 3 or something. So like, yeah, it's very possible that sometimes when you're playing, you're actually playing versus with a player or versus a player that knows what they're doing, but they probably don't even know their champion that well, and therefore they're just playing and maybe looking a little bit more worse than they probably are. So yeah, there is that kind of how could you say, like, kind of sub branches in improving players. There are the actual players who are not really that good at the game, and then there are players who are good at the game, but they're still trying to get even better, right? But so they're not really playing to climb upwards, but they're playing to just get better with that one specific thing that they're playing the game for. It doesn't have to be the champion. Maybe they have a specific goal with the game. Maybe they're like, if I don't first blood my enemy, I technically lose this game. So they're like trying out some cheese strategy, and they're like building something specific or leveling in a specific way. It just, it's experimental, and it's kind of like treating rank like your sandbox. And maybe that's not like the best thing to explain it, but why is ranked the best sandbox possible is how you have to ask it. And it actually just comes down to the players that play in normals and ranked. They are very different. They have very different attitudes towards the game. Normal game players tend to be a lot more relaxed and like laid back. Just let's have fun, kind of players. And I'm not gonna say everyone is like that. There are normal tryhards, but they are far less than there are ranked tryhards. Trust me on that one. I played a lot of normals and a lot of ranked. I really can't tell the difference when I play the modes. And yeah, generally speaking, in ranked, when you do something wrong, a person is a lot more likely to tell you what exactly you did wrong, because maybe they have a good idea or maybe they're just really mad. But when they do have the right idea of what you're supposed to be doing, and they end up telling you, that is your opportunity to improve as a player. And it might seem really stupid, but I've actually improved more from this game by listening to people raging at me than I've been looking at others people play. Because the way I did it was, I was just in season 2 when I first got placed into like a really low elo, I got even further down because I was so bad at the game at the time, and I just didn't know what I was doing wrong, and I kind of needed a second opinion. But my friends weren't exactly the best players at the time, and for some reason, I just didn't have interest in watching other people's play. So my only solution for myself was, I'm gonna keep playing this game until I become good. And I did improve by playing a lot, but I didn't always know like the little tricks, the little strategies you can do with certain champions. They all have like their little like special things that you can do throughout the game. And this can only be taught out by watching others who do it, or just by pretty much inventing it yourself. So like, there's a very low likelihood that you are going to invent something new with a champion that you're supposed to be doing. So you're most likely gonna copy it from someone else or hear it from someone else. And that's where like ranked is actually good, because in ranked most people try to stay up to date when it comes to what is the right choice and whatnot, and what you're supposed to be doing this and there. And of course, the knowledge is very variable depending on elo. But while I was climbing low elo, like some people actually told me some really useful stuff that was like so basic, and I just never really understood it until they told me, and I was like, wow, I'm a different player now. It's like I suddenly started like increasing in ranks just because they're like, it just made sense what they told me. And yeah, like, ranked is just a really good environment to improve in comparison to normals. I mean, normals, you can still improve in normals. In fact, I'm gonna, okay, this is gonna turn into a little bit of a story time here, but it's gonna be short. Faker, like one of the considered best players in the world, or at least best mid laner, is someone who normally just played a bunch of normal games, and then he was discovered by an actual like high elo player or something, and he told Faker that he could probably go very high in ranked if he just played ranked. And guess what, Faker's probably like the most famous player now thanks to him playing in ranked, because he got picked up by a team and he made a name for himself out there. So yeah, like, normals are totally a fine place to improve on. It's just I feel like the improvement factor is a lot better in ranked. So therefore, people tend to have smurfs where they just play ranked and they just get better, and usually they kind of hit their limit around the high platinum, low diamond area. They usually don't tend to go further unless they are playing to just purely climb, and that's when people suddenly start skyrocketing upwards, and you kind of notice that suddenly, wow, these players are playing so well, like what changed? It's like, oh, they're actually going for their absolute optimal pick for each game, and it's not like they're actually like, oh, I want to see like how this lane goes. Like I want to try out how does casting work versus Victor in mid lane. Like right, that might sound a little bit familiar because it did happen throughout my series where I was like smurfing. I wanted to try out the casting versus Victor matchup, and yeah, a lot of people actually do that. They try out matchups, sorry, in ranked, and I've actually lost games because of this in my like later days of season 2 where like oh my god, I don't know if I want to tell this story, but basically there's a pro player called Ocelot, and he ended up in my team 2 times in a row while I was almost a diamond. Like I pretty much had to win one game, and this guy always appeared. He was like the gatekeeper for diamond, and one of these games he purely lost because he was trying to find a counter pick to Syndra, and he thought that Malphite would be a good pick into Syndra, and like he just lost his lane completely. And I was like, what the hell? Like Ocelot at the time wasn't considered like the best mid laner or whatever, but he was certainly not like the worst mid laner. Like I respected him, I let him play mid and whatever. And looking back at it, it was kind of a mistake to let him play mid because I could pick before him, and I was like, okay, just out of pure respect, and because I know you're like in a semi-successful team, I'm gonna let you play mid lane. And he lost because he was experimenting in ranked solo queue. So in a way, I was very mad about it at the time, but then I thought about it, and I realized, like ranked is actually the best place to learn. So if you're gonna be experimenting, and you actually, you don't mind losing a game, it's not illegal to play something for the first time into something like unknown. So like just go ahead and try and improve. It's just when you go into games knowing that you're trying to improve something, you're most likely actually gonna get better rather than trying to go into a game and be like, oh my god, I need to win this game, like and not really knowing what you're doing. When you don't really know what you're doing, that's when you probably realize that your aims with each game has to change. You have to play a game to become better, not to hope that you'll get a higher rank from playing that game. So yeah, just change your goal basically. If you aren't actually climbing consistently, because if you're not climbing consistently, that means you're lacking somewhere, and or maybe you just have bad luck. But bad luck kind of runs out at some point, and when you start losing games that are not like because of bad luck, that's when you realize there are some holes you probably got to be fixing about your your average game play. So yeah, anyways, that was pretty much my small discussion about climbing and improving players. I hope it was kind of useful, because to me, honestly, like it is probably one of the biggest deals when climbing ranked. When I'm playing to climb, as you may have noticed towards the end of the series, I did really stick to my comfort picks and the more meta picks. I started playing a lot more of the same things over and over, instead of like on the early parts of the series where I pretty much almost played a different champion every game. And I kind of realized that I couldn't keep doing that, because I would start reaching points where I was like, oh, actually picking this is a bad idea, because I know this from a previous experience. So yeah, I reached that point where it's like, yeah, okay, I know that I shouldn't do this, so I should probably do this. So it's kind of a way that I've already gone through the improving process, but that is not to say that I can't improve even more. And like this is something that people constantly do with this game. They just keep grinding out games with the goal to get better. And yeah, that is just what happens. People just end up doing it in ranked, treating it like it was their normal games. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and of course I'm also going to explain what happened in the last video of my rank climb, which was the Nocturne number 199. Towards the end of the video, I didn't end up showing the little animation where I reached diamond, because it all, like, the screen went black. It didn't go black on my end, but for some reason my recorder didn't change to the right scene, so instead of like showing my desktop, it ended up showing like a dead League of Legends window, which was all blacked out by then. So yeah, I'm so sorry that you guys couldn't get to see it, but it's just an accident. It hasn't happened before, so I hope it's not gonna happen again anytime soon. But yeah, I did manage to reach diamond, and I'm gonna explain what I'm going to be doing next for my channel in an update video that's gonna be happening very soon. Because technically speaking, this series was supposed to end by the time I reached diamond, as the goal was to just reach diamond. And to be honest, I felt like reaching diamond actually went a lot faster than it should, but maybe it was because like when my return happened, I started tryharding, and like it just went by really quickly. So I hope I hope most of you guys have actually learned something from watching my games, or maybe just watching or listening in on these discussions that I had for each elo. Obviously, all these discussions weren't like really obvious things that were happening in these elos, but the reason why I was talking about just this in platinum was because I did feel like I was playing versus people who were probably experienced but didn't know what they were doing with certain champions. So I kind of like I felt like, oh wait, that's kind of like me earlier today. Like I was like, wow, that's just me. But I didn't really say it out loud in my videos. So yeah, um, climbing and improving, it's a very real thing. Okay, so yeah, I hope you guys have learned things, and I've had feedbacks in my comments from my videos of people just climbing up ranks because they've been watching me. I'm really glad to hear that it is actually happening, and that I've actually managed to help some people get better at the game. It's really nice to hear, and I hope you guys keep improving. And if you're just watching my videos for the sake of entertainment, thank you so much for constantly watching. It's great to have you guys. Yeah, so look forward to my next update video. I'll be explaining what's going to be up next for the channel and the series, and I'll see you guys then. This has been me, SteveRoxorz. Thank you guys for watching.